I'm Peter. Welcome to Tarot with Bonnie and Peter, where we take the mystery out of the tarot and help you bring this ancient practice into everyday life. In this podcast, we'll talk about life, tarot, and everything in between. So grab your tarot deck, get comfortable, and start your journey to tarot with Bonnie and Peter.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. We're excited to be back after having, kind of been away for a little bit of holiday travel and having kind of re-released a couple of our favorite episodes. We're here with new content and we're here live. So we're going to talk to you today a little bit about, we'll say, fresh start, springtime. We talked in the past about getting through the dark times of winter where the days are short, and at least where Bonnie and I live, where the temperatures are cold and people hunker down and bunker down almost wait for that period to end. And now we're in that point of the time of the year where spring has started. And I mean, here, spring has just started. We're recording this in that sort of late April timeframe where we're starting to see buds on trees and our grass is getting a little bit greener. And certainly the temperature is becoming warmer. It's inviting us to start going outside, to soon tend to our gardens. And of course, the calendar says that it is springtime. So we thought we would talk a little bit about how the tarot is represented and how we can work with the tarot during this springtime, fresh start, planting seeds kind of era in the calendar. So I don't know. Do you have anything you want to add to that at all, Bonnie?
Yeah, I mean, it is exciting. Spring is great. And it's funny because spring, when we have a new year, right, like January 1st, everybody thinks like that's the time to plant seeds or start something new because we're starting a new calendar year. But really, the energy is so alive in the spring for new beginnings. So if you think that you've missed out on your, New Year's resolution or starting something new, this is really a beautiful time energetically as well to start those new beginnings. And yeah, like things are fresh. It's vibrant. It sort of gives us that little spark to help us move forward, to go outside and to be a little bit motivated to do some of those things that maybe we haven't been able to do because it was winter or, maybe we were resting or, just recharging our batteries. So yeah, spring is definitely a wonderful time for new beginnings and just really being motivated to start doing the things that maybe you haven't, you've been thinking about but haven't started yet.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned in this household, actually, especially with an astrologer and a tarot practitioner living in it, that springtime, like that airy start of the year, that the spring, the equinox, is we celebrate that as kind of the new year. Now, of course, we celebrate the calendar new year, but we do almost that spiritual reset as, in that March 20th, March 21st, March 22nd. For us, when the calendar, it kind of says spring, and the astrological calendar says spring, you're right. It is a wonderful time to focus on that. Speaking of new things, can you tell us what you've got going on before we jump into, springtime and fresh starts in the tarot? You got a fresh start thing happening.
I have a fresh start. Yes. Thanks, Peter. I do. I have a new series. It's starting on May the 5th. It's called Rest, Then Rise. So kind of funny that we're talking about that in the spring, but it's a 9-week series over Zoom. And it actually, we're working through the different energy centers of the body, but in a way that is really approachable, really relevant. And we're using meditative and very gentle breath work to help us see any patterns or old stories or maybe some stuck energy in these different energy centers and sort of helping to shift that energy and move that along. So it's really great for people who might be feeling like they're stuck or, a lot of us are stuck in like perfectionism perfectionism or people pleasing or just always like so much pressure to try to fix ourselves or be better. So this is a really great way to maybe look at some of those patterns and again, shifting that energy in a really gentle and compassionate way. There's also going to be meditation audios that are going to be available that you can listen to between sessions. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but also really introspective and hopefully an opportunity for some real transformation. So that starts on May the 5th. If you're interested, you can go, you can find us at Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. You can find out more about me there, or you can go to breathewithbonnie.com and all the details are on my website. So thanks, Peter. How about you? What do you have going on? What can you tell our listeners you have up to?
I'll have to explore what you got going on May the 5th. So that could be something that gets added to my own calendar. But I'm almost coming to the tail end now of the Cards of the Zodiac series, which I've been talking about for almost a year. So Cards of Taurus, which is the season we're in right now, is up. So if you're interested in looking at the tarot through an astrological lens, then by all means, pop on over to tarotwithbonnieandpeter.com or over to my website at peterwhitetarot.com and check out the Cards of Taurus, which is the second last edition. The last one will be the Cards of Gemini, which is where we'll finish things off. That's coming up mid-May. I can't remember the exact date, but it's a Thursday at 6 will be the live. I think it might be May 12th, which will be the live call and the last live call. And I mean, I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm kind of hoping that the community that can make it will come together in that sort of live environment, that live celebration. But I'm also looking forward to kind of wrapping it up and moving on to new things as we talk about, the start of new things and new seasons. It has been an absolute joy looking at the tarot through the lens of astrology. And for those of you that would be interested in doing that, keep your ears tuned because I will be packaging together the courses, I think, in a pretty interesting way. If you miss them, but are wanting to recap some of the tarot information, there'll be an opportunity for you to do that moving forward. So that's the one thing, that I've got going on. I'll make a plug for those who are local to this local area. My band Stolen is finally confirmed to play locally. We've got it's a new venue, band-based venue that's opened up here in the town of Orangeville called Broadway Beat. And we're going to be playing the full 3 sets on May the 23rd. So if you are local to the Orangeville area or really the GTA and you want a night of 80s kind of new wave, synth pop, bit of rock, then it's bound to be a fun night. It is the first time we're actually playing with no cover. So there is no charge to come in. You just, pop on in. It will be busy. That I guarantee you. So if you want to get in and get a table, you would have to make a reservation. This one is going to book out. But if, you just want to stand up and listen to some music and dance, then just, pop on in. No cover. I think we start at 8 or 8:30 and we're going to play right until, just after midnight. So.
And I have to say, Peter, your band is amazing. I had the pleasure of seeing you play. What's it like? No, 2 years.
2 years ago, yeah. Well, we've gotten
2 years ago in September.
We've gotten better now. It's 2 years.
Yeah, it was so good. I'm really disappointed that I can't make it on the 23rd. That would have been the perfect venue for me to come and see you. We have tickets to go see a concert that I had booked months ago in Toronto. So I won't be there, but I'm definitely going to be at your next one. So whoever can come and see Peter play, you will not be disappointed. And you'll have a sore throat the next day because you'll be screaming, singing.
And if you do come, if you're listening to the podcast and you do come and say hi. Like, make sure you come and say, hey, you know what? I took up your invitation from Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. I came and, and saw the band. Please, come and let me know that. I would love to hear from you. So with all of that stuff out of the way, let's start talking about, some of those fresh starts that we would see inside the tarot. What do you think? You had a great card that, kind of jumped out. I thought it said springtime when we were just, sort of talking beforehand. It wasn't one I had thought of. I thought of the suit, but I thought of that card. So.
Okay, yeah. I'll share with you what I thought would be a good representation of the spring. And this is a card I think that comes up for me a lot as well. And I think it's also a really good reminder. So the Seven of Pentacles. So when we look at the Seven of Pentacles, and if I actually think about it in my, like, I'm not even looking at a card, but I can see it in my head. In the Light Seers Tarot, it has someone looking at, I think like a pentacle, but they can't see the roots growing underneath. So I think the beautiful reminder of that card is whatever we plant now has the ability to grow into something, and it takes time. And with that, you know, there's also that invitation to be a little bit patient and know that things are growing even though we can't see them. So I think that's the biggest lesson, especially with pentacles or things that we do in the spring. What you're planting now, you're going to see the fruits of that labor in a few weeks, in a few months, maybe in the fall. But it still requires your nurturing. It still requires your attention. And yeah, I just thought about that because we live in a society of instant gratification. Right. And if we do something and we don't see the results right away, we're like bored, on to the next thing. And I think this is a really beautiful grounded lesson to be like, hey, it's important. If you want to do something, number one, you have to be intentional about planting that seed, and then knowing that sometimes things are happening even though you can't see it. And quite literally in the soil, we can't see what's happening underneath the ground, but we just have to trust that it's growing. So.
Yeah. No, that's a beautiful way of summarizing that card. It's a reminder that says, and some things can't be rushed. We may want the outcome of something to happen quicker than it does. And there are some things where the timeline is completely outside of our control. Once we plant a seed in a garden, we really can't do anything other than nurture the seed, provide maybe better conditions for it to grow. We might increase the chances of a better yield, but we can't speed up the process, right? It's just not, that's not possible. It's not within our power. And I think the Seven of Pentacles is sometimes a really good reminder that we can put some work in the early stages. And then, all we can do is that there is a process, that there is a time where all we're doing is sort of maintaining and providing that rich environment for something to be able to grow eventually, and then just waiting patiently for the outcome.
Another thing too, as you were talking, I thought about this because sometimes we try something and it doesn't quite work and we're like, oh, that was a failure. But I think another lesson in the Seven of Pentacles is that it gives us an opportunity to see what's working and what's not working, and to maybe try it a little bit differently next time. Yeah. So, I could think in my head, this is great with like recipes. Let's say you want to master the art of making sourdough bread. I don't know. I'll use that as an example. I love bread. I love sourdough bread. Maybe you try it the first time and you're like, oh, it didn't quite rise properly or something. And then you sort of keep trying. So just because you tried it once and maybe it didn't come out the way you expected it to, that energy can be like, well, don't give up on it, but this could be an opportunity for you to tweak it in some way, or, keep mastering your skill. So that's also patience as a lesson. Sometimes things don't always work out exactly as we think they're going to, but then that gives us an opportunity to come back to that and see what worked, what doesn't work, and tweak it in some way.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's and when we were talking, because we haven't recorded live in a while. So of course we got together, we've been catching up, and then talk a little bit about what we were going to do. And when you mentioned that Seven of Pentacles, I thought it was a perfect card to start. I had thought of others, but that one I thought of the Suit of Pentacles, but that one hadn't come to mind. I had thought about what I think is the other end of that axis, or the axis, which is the Nine of Pentacles. But, in a lot of ways, the Nine of Pentacles is probably more of the end process of that patience. I think of the Seven of Pentacles, which is the person they almost look like they're resting on a shovel, and they've got their, I'm thinking of the Rider-Waite is Smith, where, they've got all the pentacles around them and you can almost see them waiting. I was thinking of the idea, I guess, of the possibility of abundance, the possibility of harvest that comes from the Nine of Pentacles. So, in my head, I had already planted the seed, and was kind of thinking that. So I often think of the Empress, the Nine of Pentacles, the Queen of Pentacles as being cards of spring, because I guess I'm thinking of the potential that the work that we do now can bring. But you've made me rethink that, because in some ways they're probably more fall-based cards, or probably, or autumn-based cards. They're the result of harvest. To me, I'm thinking optimistically, like, okay, well, if I do the work now, then my end goal is that Nine of Pentacles, kind of Queen of Pentacles, Empress sort of concept of abundance.
But that's important, because we have to have a vision for where we want to go. So if we imagine that we're planting a garden right now, but like in our head, it's like, oh, in a few weeks, or, for planting tomatoes, for example, right? Like in August, ooh, I can taste that fresh tomato that I'm going to pick. And then I'm going to, put balsamic vinegar and all of it. Like you're already imagining that that's going to be possible.
Well, my mouth is watering already.
Me too.
No.
Some fresh
Sorry
basil.
to those of you listening or watching right now. Bonnie's got you running to the market or running to the kitchen, making yourself a balsamic salad with fresh tomatoes.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of having the vision, but that can't happen if we don't plant our garden at all. Like we can envision, fresh tomatoes from the garden all we want, but if we don't take that first step to actually plant them and believe that it's possible, like we could plant it and be like, oh, I'm a crappy gardener, this is probably not even going to grow, right? Then what's going to happen to your garden? It's probably not going to grow. So I think everything that you talked about is absolutely essential when we're thinking about starting something new. We want to do something because we have a vision in mind, but in order for us to get to that vision, we have to start somewhere, and then we have to stay the course and be patient, because quite often what we want isn't just going to appear instantly.
Yeah. And that belief in that end process is critical as well. And kind of leads me to another card of spring. I would have kind of linked the cards astrologically, and I would talk about the Hierophant, which is the card that's associated to Taurus, and it is the card that talks about our internal belief system. So we can't. If I'm a farmer, let's go literally planting seeds. If I don't believe that the seeds that I'm planting are going to result in a harvest of some kind, I'm not doing the work to put the seeds in the ground. There is an element of, I know the process, I've done it enough. It's a routine that, is embedded in my belief system to know full well that this little teeny seed or sapling or plantling or whatever you call it is going into the ground, that 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months from now, it's going to grow into something. I'm not doing the work. So, that Hierophant, which is really an internal, almost code system that we have that, it's almost beyond believing. It's almost faith-based knowing. And I don't mean that from a religious perspective. I mean it from I don't have evidence in front of me, and yet I know that planting this seed is going to come up with this particular result.
I love how you're aligning that energy with the Hierophant card, because it's true. It's like you take a seed, right? You plant the seed into the ground. The seed knows what it has to, like, you're just having faith that the seed is going to grow into something. Right. You don't have to understand what's actually happening to the seed. It just happens. So there is this feeling of like faith and trust that I know that if I put this in the ground and, I create the proper conditions for it to grow, it's going to become something that it's not right now. That, like, I love how you brought those two metaphors, I guess, or analogies together. That's so genius, Peter.
Geez, I think because what it has to do, for me anyways, in a modern tarot practice, it has to move the Hierophant outside of the image. Like, as somebody who works at the Rider-Waite-Smith, I would look at the Hierophant, sometimes called the Pope in, old decks, and it'd be like, well, for me personally, I don't want the religious connotation, that conformity, that orthodoxy that would traditionally sit with the card. But the idea of a belief system, the idea of believing in something without actually seeing its evidence right in front of me is quite linked to that concept of planting, knowing that a harvest is coming, despite the fact that I don't really have hard evidence in front of me other than past experience, past routine, things that my belief system is based on. It's like, look, I'm a farmer. I've done this 25 times, and every time I've come up with a harvest. A skeptic might say, yeah, well, this year might not be the year. Or it might be sometimes I've had good harvests, sometimes I've had bad harvests. I have to trust the process, and I'm going to do everything I can to try and make this ground as fertile as possible. That series of rules, of codes, of routines that you would follow, that's the Hierophant. That's the land of the Hierophant. All of those kind of, I'll call them codes because I'm going to call them codes a little bit later, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, and at the same time, that particular energy is like, okay, where is this belief coming from? And is there, a different way too? It could be like, okay, I'm a farmer. I've done this way for 25 years, but maybe there's something out there that might make this a little bit easier for me. So it's about having as well the intention of exploring something different and being like, oh, maybe this is helpful, or actually, no, I really still like the way that I do it, because then you're really ingrained in that belief system, and it's not just coming from something because somebody showed it to you, how maybe it was passed down generationally, but no, you're actually like, no, this works, and I'm doing this because it really aligns with my energy. So I love where you took the Hierophant today.
Well, thank you. Look, it also highlights the fact that for long-time listeners, you'll know that, sure, I believe that there are traditional meanings to a card, but then I also think that our experience helps expand what those meanings are like. And everything I've said, I think, fits inside the Hierophant box. I didn't describe the Tower card. I didn't describe, other cards. These are very Hierophant-like ideas. So, and it is, as the card of Taurus, it is a grounding card as well. It is an earth-based card. So, if we're going to harvest stuff, we do.
Yeah, and it's the card of seeking knowledge, right? The knowledge doesn't always have to be religious-based or spiritual. It could be you're looking for a mentor, or you're looking for somebody to help you with what it is that you're doing. So that all fits inside that card as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. And systems, whatnot. So any other cards of that would fit that idea of that fresh start or springtime, because you had a few.
Well, if I could generalize this, I would say all of the aces and probably all of the pages. I think aces and page energy are very similar, but in particular with the aces, I always see that as some type of seed, especially the Ace of Pentacles. I literally think about that as taking a seed and planting that in the ground, because we know Pentacles is the earth element. So what is it that we want to make tangible, from an idea? Maybe we get an idea from that Ace of Swords, right? We get that clarity. And then with that Ace of Pentacles, we're like, okay, now I'm gonna plant this in the ground. So I think the aces, if if I can borrow this language from Sasha Graham, she says, use tarot as medicine. So if there's something new that you're wanting to start, you can intentionally pull those aces and be like, what is it that I want to do? Is this something tangible that I want to manifest in my life? Use that Ace of Pentacles. If you're needing clarity or really wanting a new idea about something or trying to figure out a solution to something, use your Ace of Swords. If there's like a heartfelt intention or a relationship, or you want to explore your intuition, grab the Ace of Cups. And then, like you want that spark, that passionate, fiery energy, you want to take action on something, then use the Ace of Wands. So I really think embodying the messages of what the cards contain is such a powerful practice to do, and probably something that we often overlook. So that would be my suggestion, is work with those aces, and really, you can even use the ace, just put that down and then create a spread around what it is that you want a new beginning for, right? Because new beginnings could be about so many different things.
Yeah, I love that. The idea of using an ace as almost a significator card in,
Mhm.
in your deck. It's like this is what I want to manifest. So I'm going to build a spread around this. And for those of you that are finding us for the first time, go, have a listen, because we often talk about the idea of pulling cards intentionally, using them as, to borrow Sasha Graham, as medicine, or using them as talismans as well, where the card itself holds meaning for you. And then you talked about, I always think, you mentioned the pages, and I think the pages are a great way, because I love the word seed when it comes to the ace. And I think there's an energy around the aces that sit in each of those suits. And then I think the pages are a personification of that energy. So I always think if the Ace of Pentacles is the energy of the earth, then personifying that energy of the earth becomes the page. That, so when we talk about, well, I want to take that first step, think about how wonderful the blend of the Ace of Pentacles and the Page of Pentacles together. It's like you're almost embracing the energy of the Ace of Pentacles, but becoming the Page of Pentacles, being open to that new experience, being open to taking that first step. Right? So the pages really fit nicely inside the space. So
I love that. The personification of the aces. Wow, that's amazing. And if you want to take it one step further, right? Like, I love how you've personified that in the pages, but now you're ready to take action, then grab the knight of that suit, right? Because the knights are about taking action. So it's one thing, I always say this too when I'm reading for people. If you get an ace, it's just potential. Nothing has happened yet because the ace is there. So the ace is really that idea. It's this fresh new start. It's this opportunity. But if you really want to make it happen, you have to take action on that, right? And those knights, they can really help you. So
yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, because it makes me again think of another card that fits inside this sort of talk. It's the Fool. And I remember, and I can't remember who it was, and it may have been either Andrew McGregor or James Wells in a past workshop I would have attended, but it might be somebody else. They talked about the Fool being that concept of ultimate potential. So it's all four elements kind of embraced, and plus it's ether, plus it's, big idea, but that the Fool is no action. That the minute the Fool takes a step, the Fool transitions from the Fool to the Magician. And the Magician is the energy that makes things happen, right? The Magician is the ultimate manifester. And I learned that early on in my tarot discovery, and it has never escaped me. So I love when you talk about the idea of the aces. They're not action, they're potential. They're the concept of potential energy. The minute we see movement, we no longer have potential, we have action. So I think of the Fool as, almost the penultimate card of potential, because that's the Fool is, potential of all things. But when we look at the representation of the Fool in most decks, they've got a foot that they're just about to, either jump off a cliff or fall from a plane or whatever it happens to be. They're about to take this massive leap. They just haven't done it yet.
yeah, I love that. And it's so true. Like, even if we think about, there's really no number associated with it's zero. And if you think about a zero, the zero is like the void, like it's beginning, it's end. It's like all things. So everything is possible in that one card. But you're right, it's not the card of action. It's the card of like being willing to take that action. And then I love that with, the Magician now is where we're actually taking action.
We have our tools. A lot of some esoteric societies, I should say a lot, talk about the Fool as nothing and no thing. So it's like, it's all things potential. It's the egg, and it is also no thing. It's an unidentifiable non-object. Once it moves, it actually becomes something else. So
deep today, Peter.
Today we got,
we just go there.
We go. This is, you're starting to understand our process, and we love talking about the tarot, and we'll throw out general ideas for a podcast episode. And then we're like, well, we have enough stuff to talk about. And I don't think we've ever walked away from anything, not, because I think our love of the cards just takes us in those directions anyways. So.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been great. Are there any other cards you want to talk about how we can use this fresh new spring energy?
No, I mean, I look, if I was talking about spring, I would talk about the trifecta of the spring cards, which would be the Emperor, the Hierophant, and the Lovers, which are the cards of Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. And, we'll get to a point where we'll share, each kind of talk about a spread that we've done, and we'll kind of go through the spread that Bonnie had created. But the one that I had kind of created and we'll talk about a little bit is based on those concepts. It's based on the concept of the Emperor, the Hierophant, and the Lovers card. So I always think, the idea of call it structure, call it authority, call it power, kind of sits inside the Emperor. And then I've already talked about the idea of the Hierophant and the concept of codes or belief, faith. And then we have that Lovers card that kind of comes out of the idea of choice, but it also comes out of the idea of maturity, that the Lovers, the first time we recognize the presence of somebody else, so, I don't know. I would mention that I don't want to continue to get philosophical, but I would talk about those cards being the cards of spring. But really, by the time we get to the Lovers, we're kind of, to the tail end of spring coming into summer. I would really talk about the idea of the Emperor and the Hierophant as being those cards of that immersion, that fresh start. We don't think about the Emperor, but we talk about the idea of wanting to get things done. Show me a card in the major arcana that, that is better at getting things done than the Emperor. They are the card of power and of authority, and delegating authority, either getting things done themselves or getting them done, or delegating them to get them done through other people. So that, I would highlight that card too. We talked about the Hierophant already. So that was my roundabout way of answering your question. So the short way was, do I have any other cards? Yes, I do. The Emperor and the Lovers.
Right. I love that. And the Emperor is... that energy is so great. It's funny, I didn't tell you, I got the Emperor again today. I've got it 3 days in a row. And over the past few weeks, I keep getting the Emperor. So it's funny that I'm like, oh, interesting, but we are in spring and that card is really speaking to me right now. And what I love about that too, and if we're talking about new beginnings, the Emperor really is about the structure. It's about the boundaries, the foundation of something new. So if there is something new that you want to do, know that it needs a container, right? Like we can't, we go from the Empress, which is like creation beyond, like there's no limit to what she can create. But now we need to put that creation in something so that it can grow. And that's where the Emperor energy comes in, like creating a space, creating a container, creating routines and a structure so that this thing can grow. And ultimately you're leading that. So you're stepping into this leadership role because you're taking responsibility, which is also the Emperor, of making this thing happen. So I really love how all of that just plays so nicely into like the energy of that card and then, what we're talking about. So we can really see the Emperor in a different way. It doesn't have to be this oppressive energy that people think about, or like rules, or, like I have to rebel against authority. It's really about structure, and we need structure in our lives. So, seeing where that shows up for you in whatever season you're in right now.
Yeah, totally. And I think, I love that you talk about the idea of structure, because structure holds things together. And I always think, if we combine that concept of structure and power, then what we really have is a card that talks about us holding our own power. And I think that's what the Emperor is. It's a card that says, the Emperor is a powerful card, and to get big things done, because we're talking about the major arcana here. So to get big things done, we need big power. And if we don't contain or structure our power, then it just goes everywhere. And that's, sometimes the card associated with the Emperor is the Tower, which is, kind of power unleashed, power without structure. It's, Mars at its, big and Marsiest, whereas the Emperor really can rule through authority and through structure. So it invites us to do the same thing, right? To hold on to our power. Because if we don't hold on to it, we either lose it or somebody else is going to take it.
Yeah, exactly. You're not giving your power to another source, right?
Yeah.
You're really claiming that and being confident and brave, right? So
Yeah. I
maybe
often talk.
that's what the Emperor is telling me. Be brave, Bonnie.
Be brave. And I would often talk about, because the Emperor being associated to Aries, and, from an astrological perspective, when the sun goes into Aries, it's what signals the spring equinox, or at least spring equinox in the Northern Hemisphere. And I can't remember when I wrote this article. It would have been years ago. It's well on a past website, but the phrase was the Emperor, or the sun dons the cloak of the Emperor. So when the sun moves into Aries, sun being self, and Emperor being that idea of claiming power, and spring really is a great time. The Emperor is a great card, to combine that sun-like self, radiant, my best self energy, with the Emperor. So that idea of really, taking your power. And that doesn't have to be authoritative, tyrannic power. It can be, and we're witnessing some of that stuff going on in, the world right now. But imagine if it wasn't. Imagine if it was power that, was compassionate, that was, that was non-authoritarian, but still showing strength and showing power. So,
Yeah. I love that.
we go philosophical and political all in one show. Any other cards that you
Only
wanted to
here,
highlight?
folks.
Yeah, you asked. You asked me.
I don't think so. I think we've
covered them all, right?
covered. We'll put it out to our audience. Are there other cards that you would associate with the springtime or new beginnings that we haven't mentioned? So let us know in the comments or email us. We love to hear from you.
Indeed, but we're going to put this to practice. So we've got a spread that we're going to how to go through that Bonnie created. And I think you're going to absolutely love it. And I'm not going to steal your thunder. I'll let you share it. It was one that we had kind of both sort of created spreads in advance of this this episode. So this one I want to quickly share, but it's probably perhaps too. Its intention is, as often the spreads that I create are, for those of you familiar with my cards of the Zodiac, there's always at least one, there's always 5 reflection questions, but there's always at least one spread that I invite people to kind of leave out over a season to reflect on. And I did something with this one as well, with kind of the 3 cards associated with spring. So Bonnie, you okay if I share it before we dig into yours?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so I looked at the Emperor as an authority, so I've used that language already. I looked at the Hierophant as kind of the codes. I didn't want to use the word orthodoxy, so codes is my way of saying, what kind of beliefs or even my internal routines. And then the Lovers, which is a card of Gemini, which is sort of the 3rd card of spring, is a card about choice. So the 3 questions, and we'll include them in the show notes here, is card 1 would be, the question would be around my authority. So what or where or how am I being called to claim or reclaim my authority over my life in this spring, right? That would be position 1. So this is a 3-card spread. Position 2 would be kind of linked to that Hierophant, and it would be my codes. And the question would be what beliefs or what traditions or what, kind of internal or even inherited routines. They're beyond internal. They're things that almost are part of my own makeup. What narratives, so what beliefs, traditions, inherited routines, what narratives are shaping me and my choices right now? So what things am I doing that in many ways are almost outside of my control, that are part of my internal being, that are shaping my choices? And then, of course, the 3rd one, the Lovers, we're going to look at those choices. This position will be called the My Choices position. And it will be, what key choice is emerging for me this season? So keeping all of those things in mind, the idea of my power and either claiming or reclaiming my power and my authority, focusing on what my internal belief systems are, my traditions, and what choice might that be leading me to, I kind of thought would be sort of a great, deeper look at the cards of spring. So, that's sort of what I had done. My authority, my codes, my choices, focused on the energy of the Emperor, the Hierophant, and the Lovers. So, like I said,
That's amazing.
If that kind of resonates with you, this is the stuff that we often do, as sort of a practical application during the cards of the Zodiac. So if you haven't signed up, you might want to keep an eye out for when that little package of work kind of comes out and kind of gets restructured. So Anyway, sorry, I cut you off. My apologies.
No, you didn't cut me. I was just praising you. Like, that is incredible. And yeah, just, it's profound. This isn't just surface level stuff that we're talking about, right? Like, that really helps you to examine those deeper layers. So I think that's really amazing.
Yeah, and I would invite you, and it's certainly, these are personal questions, so please don't ask you to share the response. But my invitation would be, these are great spreads to sit with for a bit. So we often think, we'll sit down and we'll draw 3 cards, or draw 6, draw 2 cards per question, whatever feels right for you. But then sit with them, have that conversation with yourself, especially when you're reading for yourself. What's your initial impression? But I promise you that if you have a space to leave these cards out for a while, the interpretation will change and it will grow. And certain things will come out that didn't come out initially when you've had an opportunity perhaps to sort of re-regulate yourself after, sort of doing the work of tarot. As we, I always think when we shuffle them and all of a sudden we pull the tower and we go, the tower. And then, our response is immediate. But then we get an opportunity to sort of reflect. So I always tell my students, I will often leave cards out for the entire season that I'm focused on. Like, they'll sit in a space and I will go back and sometimes reflect on them. And then when I feel I've gotten the information I need, then I thank them and put them away. So that's great. I love that suggestion, Peter. I often don't leave them. I leave them out for a day, and I do my readings at my desk, like in my office space. Yeah. And so the next day I put them back in my decks, and then I reshuffle and pull cards. But I think I need to find a space where I can just leave those cards out for those, not maybe just a daily draw, but like something that you're talking about, because it's true. Your interpretation or how those messages will land, it changes. It totally depends on how you're showing up to do the reading, and just giving things space, right, to settle. And we can see things from a different perspective sometimes. So I really love that, and I'm gonna make the intention to have a space where I can leave these cards out so I can see them. Well,
so thank you.
From a practical perspective, and it's off camera, but I have a small folding table. So I also do often on my desk, but I have a folding table that is only about, it might be 60 or 70 centimeters by maybe 30 centimeters with little folding legs. And I tuck it away when I'm not using it. And when I want to use it, I take it out, unfold the legs, set it down, and do my work. And then I can actually I have a spot on my desk where it goes. And like one of my keyboards, my little teeny piano, sits underneath it. So it's not taking up any more room than it would. It's actually elevated above my desk. And then, it's in a spot that I spend a lot of time in this space, in my office here, and I can reflect on them. So I've done that. I used to put them out on the main table, and we've got sort of an altar space, but kind of reserve that now for other things, other sort of spiritual things. But my tarot work now, because I don't do it daily, I do tend to do it seasonally. When I do it, I like to leave it out for a while. So I just found otherwise, in some ways the cards were getting in the way of daily life. Like if you've got them laying out on a table, then, it's stuff, right? Part of what we talk about here is, integrating the tarot into daily life. Daily life isn't all about the tarot. It's all about other things too. If you're leaving cards out, stuff gets spilled on, like whatever, right?
Yeah, for sure. You don't want that to happen.
Totally. So anyways, but you designed yes, talk about that spread, because I told you had me at the alliteration of the title. That was it. I was sold right there. So.
Thanks, Peter. Okay, so yeah, how do we want to do this? Do we actually want to pull cards and do the spread live, or do we just want to share the spread?
It's up to you. I'm going to leave it up to you.
Okay. I'm calling this the seed, the soil, and the sun spread, right? We're Northern Hemisphere, right? Like we're entering spring. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you're like the opposite now. Like you're entering fall. But, this could work at any time of the year, but I thought this would be really great for the springtime. So the first card pull is the seed. So what new possibility is being planted? The second card is the soil. So what will help it to take root? And then the sun, what energy will help it grow? So I thought this might be a really great opportunity to, see what the tarot has in store for if we're thinking about new beginnings, or, like sometimes we live so much in the structured mind that we do things or have intentions because we think we need them. And it's really hard for us to see the bigger picture of that because we live so much in the mind. But if we just dropped into the body or sort of into that space behind our thoughts where we have access to so much clarity and wisdom, sometimes different things pop up and we're like, oh, interesting. I wouldn't have consciously thought of that because I think I need to do this thing. So that's why I love using the tarot for practices like this, because it shows us things sometimes that we're not really looking at. Like maybe like we know it's there, but it's like not here. And the tarot's really good at bringing it right here. So
yes, it is. Well, and I love that because and maybe unbeknownst, but you created a non-outcome spread. Like there's nothing, what this spread talks about, it talks about possibilities. It's like what is emerging. So it really blends nicely with that Seven of Pentacles energy you were talking about. It's like there's something there and I don't know what it is. But hey, tarot, I'm going to draw 3 cards. Help me, what is the possibility? And, how are we going to help it grow? And what kind of energy does it need to be able to do that? It's not saying, and this is what's going to emerge from that. It's actually talking more about, really does have that spring kind of energy. It's like, maybe something emerges, maybe something doesn't. This is really talking about, planting a seed of possibility, doing work that may result in something, but then again, might not result in something as well. So I love that. I love that kind of focus, because often we're like, okay, well, we do a spread and then we want to know, well, what's going to come of this? It's like, there's nothing that's going to come of this. This is actually talking clearly about potential and possibility. So.
And I love, as you were talking, I was thinking about this. We use cards generally because we want guidance, because we want things to turn out in a way that we want it to turn out. But as we know, in life, our greatest lessons sometimes are the things that make us expand, things that are uncomfortable, things that don't always work out. So if we're always going to rely on the cards that it's going to give us the outcome that we want, we could also be missing really important pieces on this journey of expansion and growth and learning. So yeah, this doesn't mean that like something is going to come out of it, but it could be like, there's this thing that I need to do, and I'm going to learn from this one way or the other. It's either going to turn out, or there's going to be something in here that's going to help me grow. So yeah, I love that. Yeah. I think, if we could just snap our fingers and just predict everything to happen the way exactly it's going to happen, I don't really think that's our purpose here. I think we grow through the discomfort. Right. And I'm not saying the spread is going to cause discomfort, but I'm just saying sometimes we use cards because we don't want to go through those trials. And quite often, if you've been working with the cards for many years, sometimes the tarot guides you to something that doesn't actually turn out. And you're like, why would I get that advice? Or it gives you the opposite of what you think it. But you maybe were meant to go through that.
That's right. Yeah, that's not, and it's the question of, the difference between, what is it? I seem to remember this expression from my educational days. It's like the difference between failing and falling is whether or not you get back up again.
Yes.
So it's like that in some ways, the lesson, we talk about the concept of failure, but the truth is all failure is really an obstacle that was placed in front of us if we choose to get back up and continue the journey. Right. Yeah. So.
And a lot of times we live afraid of failure. I can speak from my own experience. Yeah, totally. Even things I look back and I'm like, I don't want to do that again because I tried it before and it didn't turn out. Well, what did I learn from that? Right. Or just because it didn't work out in the past, things have changed, right? Like what's stopping me from trying again and seeing if it's going to work out? So I think a lot of time, it's funny. I also, in a spread today, I got the 5 of Swords, which gives me, right? Like it's that energy of,
it's not your stalker card. Or maybe it is now. Maybe it's become.
No, my stalker card is the 7 of Swords. Right? But yeah, But my stalker lately is the Emperor, so I'm okay with that as my stalker card. But yeah, sometimes we take on this identity, this failure, this defeatist identity, and that really prevents us from growing or from trying something new. So okay, I'll stop.
No, don't. No, I'm just thinking. I'm
thinking, just keep going and going, right? Like,
and I'm thinking of time because we talk about the idea of: are you going to draw cards? Or are we going to leave it to our listeners to try this one on their own? Or
I don't know. What do you want to do? Do you want to draw cards and then?
I mean, I would always.
Do we do it quickly?
Let's do it quickly, and let's do that. All right.
We can't do an episode where we don't pick a card.
You're right.
Okay, we'll do it quickly. Do you want me to draw the cards and we both talk about the card, or do you also want to draw and I draw?
No. We'll just one of us will draw. You go ahead.
Okay. So because Peter was going to use the Gaian Tarot today, and I thought, what a beautiful deck.
But yes.
Yeah, so I grabbed my Gaian Tarot too. So I'll use the Gaian Tarot, and then we can
shout out to Joanna Powell Colbert, the creator of that amazing deck and past guest on this podcast, by the way. So.
Yeah, we'll have to have her back.
Yes, yeah. We will.
Okay, so the seed, the soil, and the sun. I'm going to pick 3 cards, and then we'll give you like fast impressions.
Right, there you go.
What do you call rapid fire? That's what I'm thinking.
Tarot. Oh my goodness.
Rapid fire. Oh, we should do an episode. Rapid fire tarot. Pull a card. What's your first impression of this card?
There you go. All right.
Okay. So first card, seed. What new possibility is being planted? So this in Joanna's deck is awakening. This is the judgment card, number 20 of the major arcana. So, Peter, what do you have to say about that? What new possibility is being planted?
I'm going to go right back to that concept, and I may have borrowed it from you, so if I'm stealing your thunder, I apologize. We may have got it from someone else, but the new possibility that's being planted is that concept of I am enough. It's the idea that, whatever it is that you're doing, you're understanding that what you're bringing to the table is exactly what needs to be brought to the table. No more, no less. Oh, and that's an awakening in some ways. It's a way of saying I'm understanding that through this process, in this planting of the seed, I'm bringing exactly what I need to bring. Oh,
I love that.
What did you? Yeah, that's my quick fire rapid. If I stole your answer, I'm really sorry.
No, I love that. I love the judgment card. Yeah. It can be really confusing for some people, but when I think about this card, I think about taking off a mask, right? I think about how are we showing up in our life, and are we showing up as the version that we want to be for other people, or are we showing up in our true authenticity? So I think I love what you said. I'm worthy, right? Did you say I'm worthy or I am enough?
I'm enough.
Yeah. So I think the new possibility that's being planted here is like stripping away all of those masks that we wear and really stepping into like your authentic self. And there's also this air of forgiveness. If there's something that's preventing you from showing up as that, can you just be compassionate with yourself and be like, it's okay for me to show up exactly as I am in this new light. And once you step into this role, you can't go back. It's like you can't unsee what you've seen. So I think that's a really powerful card for spring. For me personally, I'm going to take this as a personal reading. And just show up as you. We want to see the real you. Okay, soil. What will help it take root? Explorer of fire.
Okay.
So the explorer is the knight, right?
Yeah,
Knight of Wands.
Knight of Wands. So what will help it take it? Well, then if we're talking about, that kind of emergence of true self, the idea of I am enough, the idea of taking that step forward, then it really is passionate action, right? It's the idea of moving forward, with like moving forward swiftly. We're talking about an explorer here. Go and explore what's in front of you, but explore that which lights your fire. Explore that which, maybe it's those creative juices, maybe it's that spark, that inspiration. But go with that thing that lights your fire. That's being quick, so I got to remember to be quick. What about you? Explorer of fire.
Yeah, amazing. It is. It's passion. It's so I'm going to strip this back, and I'm going to be like, if I'm speaking from personal experience, if like the pleaser in you is how you show up, right? And now we're going to step into like, what is it that I want? It's like that explorer, that Knight of Wands is telling you, like, what is it that you want to do? What lights you up? And how can you create space in your life to do the things that you're passionate about? So we're not worried about trying to please everybody else, right? Like we're taking off those masks. So what is it that you want to do, right? Like this is a perfect opportunity. This is spontaneous energy. Like do it. Don't brood over it and plan it for 10 months away. Like go do something that lights you up now.
Yeah, so I remember somebody telling me that this card is, if you want a spontaneous night in the town, this is the card you take with you.
Yeah, go out and have fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Sun, what energy will help it grow? 7 of Fire.
Okay.
So 7 of Wands.
Okay.
I also got this card in my reading today. Oh my God.
Well, I mean, to me, this is a card that says stand your ground, right? What will make it grow will be, if you're coming at authenticity, and if the idea again is to move forward with perhaps a bit of spontaneity, bit of inspiration, what lights your fire, then in the face of challenge, so whether that's a challenge of self-doubt, whether that's a challenge brought on by other people, then what's going to help that energy grow is in the face of that, in the face of adversity, in the face of obstacles, standing your ground. Standing, if this lights your fire, we've got another fire card. Be authentic in, you know what? No, this is what drives me forward. This is what lights my fire. I'm going to stay the course here. That's my quick piece of tidbit for that one. So.
Yeah, I love it.
And look at the strength of that card, right? That's the card.
The ironsmith, blacksmith.
Blacksmith. That's the she's got some. That's power, right? She's holding an anvil. She's in control of the fire. This is somebody who's working with the fire. This is somebody who has the tools that they need to be able to shape things with fire. So.
Yeah, I love that. I agree 100%. The only thing I'll add is because I also got it for myself this morning. And what I wrote down for me, it's like, what are the limitations that I'm fighting for, right? Like if we think of the 7 of Wands, it's standing in your power, it's determination, it's persistence, it's to keep going for something that you really believe in. And sometimes we really believe in our limitations and we fight for those limitations. So it's like, how can you stand in your power for the things that light you up, right? Like if we're looking at that Knight of Wands, go do the thing that you want to do and don't look at the things that are holding you back and all the excuses of why you can't do that. So, yeah, I love that. And if other people are getting in your way and they don't really like it, and be like, I'm doing this for me now, right? Like I'm going to go with this whole, like I'm done pleasing everybody else and putting my own life on hold. I'm now stepping into what lights me up and doing that with really determination and bravery. This is also a card of bravery and staying the course. So yeah.
I love that. I love that. And the soil is, that Knight, that explorer energy. They're also, they don't care. Like they're moving forward. So it's like, if you're not supporting me moving forward, then it's my ass you're going to see because I'm moving, right? I'm moving. No, you're going to be looking at me from the back. Sorry, but I'm moving forward.
What a great spread.
That's awesome. Well, what a great spread to create. So, for those of you that are looking to, we'll put it again in the notes, but this is the seed, soil, and sun spread. So I'm glad we chose to do that one. And I'm glad we decided to draw some cards too. So you're right. I don't think we have, we're 70 whatever episodes in, getting close to 78. Remember, if you got ideas for our 78th episode, we're all ears. Have we ever had an episode where we haven't drawn a card? I don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Let's not start. Let's not start now. But
no, for sure.
What we will do is say thank you for, joining us on this, kind of springtime emergence journey, that idea of fresh starts and new beginnings. If this is your first time, if you're on a fresh start, new beginning through tarot learning, please keep in mind that Bonnie and I have oodles and oodles of past episodes, well over 70 episodes, everything from guests, and, our guests are numerous, to, how to use the cards, to the cards themselves, to, I think we have an episode on every single one of the ace through 10. We've gone to dinner with the majors. We've talked about the courts. We've talked about astrology. We've talked about numerology. We've talked about meditation. Please, by all means, go back and check out our back catalog. And if you are a longtime listener, then thank you so much for spending this time with us. And we hope to see you next time. Well, we know we will see you next time here on Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. Bye for now.
Bye.